Today I am reviewing the PS5, Sony PlayStation 5. If at any time you'd like to explore this product for yourself and grab it at a great price, be sure to check the links below the video. I have been living with the Sony PlayStation 5 Digital Edition for over a year now, and after hundreds of hours of actual gameplay, I think it is time to talk about whether this machine is actually worth your hard-earned money, or if it is just a piece of plastic collecting dust. If you want to check the current pricing or see if there are any bundles available right now, I have included links below the video for you to explore. Let's start with the elephant in the room, which is the design. When you first pull this thing out of the box, you're going to be shocked by just how massive it is. I have seen pictures, I have seen videos, but nothing really prepares you for the physical footprint of the PS5. It is tall, it is wide, and frankly, it is a bit of an eyesore if you're trying to keep a minimalist setup. I had to rearrange my entire entertainment center just to get this to fit vertically, and even then, it feels like it is looming over everything else. If you're someone who likes a clean, subtle console, this is not it. However, the build quality feels premium enough that you don't feel like it is going to snap in half, even if the glossy black center section is a total fingerprint magnet that attracts dust like a vacuum. Moving on to the actual performance, this is where the console really earns its keep. The jump from the previous generation is not just about graphics, it is about the speed. That custom 825GB SSD is the real star of the show here. I remember waiting minutes for games to load on my old console, and now I am back in the action in mere seconds. It completely changes how you play. You don't hesitate to jump into a game for 15 minutes because you know you aren't going to spend half that time staring at a loading screen. That said, let's talk about that storage capacity. 825GB sounds like a lot on paper, but once you account for the system software and the massive install sizes of modern games, you are left with significantly less usable space. I filled mine up in the first 2 months. If you play a lot of different titles, you're going to be deleting and reinstalling games constantly, or you're going to be forced to buy an M.2 expansion drive, which is an additional cost you really need to factor into your budget. If you haven't checked out the expansion options yet, feel free to look at the links below to see what compatible drives are currently on the market. Now, about the digital edition specifically. Choosing this version means you are fully committed to the PlayStation Store. You cannot buy cheap used discs, you cannot borrow games from friends, and you cannot trade in your old games once you're done with them. For me, that trade-off was worth it because I prefer the convenience of having my entire library digitally, but I have definitely felt the sting of missing out on those deep discounted physical sales that pop up at retailers. If you're the type of person who loves building a physical collection or you have a library of older games on disc, do not buy the digital edition. It will only lead to frustration. You are locked into Sony's pricing, and while the sales are decent, you don't have the freedom of the secondary market. The DualSense controller is arguably the best thing about this entire package. The haptic feedback and adaptive triggers are not just a gimmick. When you are playing a game that actually utilizes these features, the immersion is on a completely different level. Feeling the tension in a bowstring or the subtle vibration of rain hitting the ground through the controller handle makes the experience feel much more tactile. However, there's a downside. The battery life is noticeably shorter than what I was used to with previous controllers. I find myself having to plug it in every single night if I have had a long session. If you are a heavy gamer, you will definitely want to pick up a second controller or a charging dock so you are never left tethered to the console with a charging cable. I have linked some of the charging accessories I use in the description below if you want to save yourself the headache of a dead controller in the middle of a boss fight. Graphically, the console delivers exactly what it promises. Playing at 4K resolution with a high refresh rate is beautiful, provided you have a television that can actually support it. If you are still gaming on a standard 60Hz 1080p screen, you are not getting the full experience this machine is capable of. The 120Hz output is fantastic for competitive shooters, but it is a luxury, not a necessity. The Tempest 3D AudioTech is another feature that is highly touted, and while it does add a sense of depth and directionality to the sound, it really depends on the headset you are using. If you are using basic TV speakers, you aren't going to notice it. You need a decent pair of headphones to actually appreciate the spatial awareness it provides. One thing that doesn't get talked about enough is the fan noise and the thermal management. I have been pleasantly surprised by how quiet this console is. Even when running intensive games for hours on end, it stays remarkably cool and rarely sounds like a jet engine, which was a massive problem with some of the earlier consoles I have owned. It is clear that Sony put a lot of work into the airflow design, even if that design resulted in the massive chassis I mentioned earlier. It is a trade-off I am happy to make. I would much rather have a large console that stays quiet than a small, compact one that sounds like it is going to take off into flight. Let's discuss the software interface. The UI is clean and fast, which is a huge improvement over the previous generation. Everything is snappy, and navigating to your games or media apps is intuitive. However, the social features and the way Sony handles game updates can sometimes feel a bit intrusive. I have had games download massive patches in the background without me realizing it, which can eat up your data cap if you have one. You really need to go into the settings and manage your download preferences if you want to avoid surprises. So, who is this for? If you're someone who wants a high-performance console, enjoys the convenience of digital gaming, and has a modern TV that can handle the high-end specs, this is a fantastic machine. It is a workhorse that does exactly what it is supposed to do, and it does it with style and speed. But if you're a budget-conscious gamer who relies on the used game market, or if you don't have a reliable, high-speed internet connection to download massive game files, this is not the right choice for you. You would be much better off looking for a version with a disk drive or sticking with your current setup until you can afford the expansion storage that you will inevitably need. I also want to touch on the value proposition. When you consider the cost of the console, the required M.2 storage upgrade, and the fact that you are locked into digital pricing, the total cost of ownership is higher than it might look on the box. You are paying for the convenience, and you are paying for the ecosystem. If you are already invested in the PlayStation ecosystem, the transition is seamless. Your trophies, your friends list, and your digital library carry over, which makes staying with Sony an easy decision. But if you are coming from another platform, you are essentially starting from scratch, and that is a significant investment. There are definitely some disappointments to keep in mind. The lack of a browser, the limited customization of the home screen, and the fact that some of the next-gen features aren't supported in every single game can be a bit of a letdown. You will encounter games that look and feel like they could have run on older hardware, and that can make you wonder if you really needed the upgrade just yet. But then you hit a game that truly utilizes the SSD and the controller tech, and the experience is so good that you forget those minor grievances. I have spent a lot of time with this machine, and overall, I think it is a solid piece of hardware. It isn't perfect, and the physical design is definitely going to be a point of contention for many people, but the actual gaming experience is top tier. It is reliable, it is fast, and it has a library of games that keeps me coming back. If you are on the fence, I would recommend looking at the games you actually want to play and seeing if they're available on the platform before you make the leap. Again, you can check the links below the video to see current pricing and availability, which might help you decide if it is the right time to pull the trigger. Ultimately, the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition is a premium gaming device for a specific type of user. It is not for the casual player who just wants something cheap to play sports games on once a month. It is for the person who values performance, speed, and the ease of an all-digital lifestyle. If that sounds like you, then you're going to be very happy with your purchase. If you value physical media, flexibility, and a smaller footprint, you might want to look elsewhere or hold out for a different model. I hope this honest look at the console helps you make an informed decision, and if you have any questions about my experience with it, feel free to leave a comment down below. I have been using mine heavily for a long time now, and I have learned all the ins and outs of how this machine performs in the real world, so I am happy to share more details if you need them. Just remember to check those links below the video to see what the current market looks like before you make your final choice. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps you get the most out of your next gaming upgrade.